So can we all say that Ruby Gillman was done dirty? Like, this came out in the same time as Transformers, Elemental, The Flash, the Mona, soon-to-be Barbie, and Spider-Verse? Along with having a trash trailer that basically gave the movie away, and the fact that nobody's talking about Ruby Gillman, like, at all. Even Elemental is being talked about, albeit roughhousing the movie. And that's how you craft a recipe for a box office failure. Despite my insistence to give the small guys a voice, I didn't think I'd have time to check this film out on the account that I was working on a total of 6 different videos, each on different states of production. So I had a lot on my plate. But lo and behold, the gods giveth me a chance to watch this for free. Well, that's new. That's right, your boy had the privilege to an advanced screening, and my god, I'm gonna seize this moment with my life! And so now, I'm one of the big boys! Yee! So, what do I think of Ruby Gillman? Yeah, it's pretty okay. It's not the best film ever, but I refrain from saying that I disliked it. First, the animation is pretty kino in my eyes. I love the designs of the main characters, and anything underwater crafted is nice and colorful. From the seafaring town to the underwater kingdom, it's all pretty nice. I may be biased because I love glow-in-the-dark effects, and this movie does a lot of that, especially with the dark ocean that really helps make things pop out, in contrast to the brighter, colorful land that refrains from muted colors. So yeah, the animation was dangling keys over my face, but I'll be damned if I ever see a nicer set of keys. And I was even surprised that I grew up with the human designs while watching the movie, since I was like, ew, when I first saw the trailer, but it was something that I got used to. I don't know if anyone else will have the same character arc as me, but I'm just sharing the possibility. Give the designs a chance. Also, the character animation by itself is actually really nice, with the highlights going to Ruby with how she squirms around like Octodad that leads to a lot of fun moments in the animation, and the character acting in general is fun. Chelsea has this bombastic and pompous flair to her, Ruby's best friend and her eccentric movements is also good. Shame she doesn't appear in the movie more, honestly. In fact, some of the characters are decent too. I really like Ruby herself. Everything adds together to make an awkward dweeb that feels authentic. And I have proof, because P said that she related to the character immensely. So I can't be wrong. My favorite character is actually the sea captain, who's the only one sus about the Gillman family. So basically Dib from Invader Zim, but water. Whenever he's on screen, I knew I was in for a fun time, which is fortunate because the movie just isn't all that funny. Which is a shame coming off of Puss in Boots. That was a riot with lines like, though there are indeed some moments that brought a smile to my face. Like, there's a ton of charm here. Also appreciate how this movie doesn't do too many disses at the Little Mermaid outside of a couple lines and visual stuff. I think it makes sense for Shrek to do that since its identity is tied so heavily to the parody aspect. While doing that here, it would just seem a bit cliche in our modern landscape. So it's nice to appreciate this movie by itself without seeing it as a diss. Especially because people are getting kind of annoying with the Little Mermaid movie. Also, the songs picked are pleasant for the most part. They fit the atmosphere, so yeah, no complaints here. But now, to the criticism. I guess the main issue I have with some of the characters and plot in general is missed potential. The plot is kinda meh, if I'm being honest. It doesn't do anything terribly, but at the same time, it's definitely a plot I've seen before. You know, it's the awkward teen who doesn't really fit in, who learns to accept who they are. It's a coming-of-age story. But it's not like to say it's devoid of potential. In fact, the acting from Ruby, both her physical and voice acting, is well executed, and I could definitely see a part of me in her. I mean, if I was a dweeb in high school, not me though, I was the cool guy. I was the coolest. And you see, one thing that I really like is the fact that... How do I word this without being put on a watch list? Oh, I got it! So Chelsea is Dream. Yeah, I don't think it's much of a shocker that Chelsea is the villain of the movie. The trailers kind of ruined that. Thanks, Universal. But it's a certain twist around her that really got me pondering. Skip here if you don't want to get spoiled. So essentially, Chelsea was actually the head of the mermaids who tried to kill all the Krakens, and so was grooming Ruby by getting on her good side and making her do a favor to steal the trident. And yeah, I think that's cool!
Wait, no, not the grooming!
I find it neat that this movie goes ahead to have a villain who manipulates the protagonist. It's something you don't see very often, and I honestly don't remember when a movie did this quite the same way. The villain identifies the flaws of the protagonist and twists them to suit her own selfish needs. It's a nice idea for villain. Plus, maybe kids who see this movie can learn when to pick up on this behavior and so go. I definitely think this implementation of a twist villain is better than whatever the bad guys was trying to do. Plus, Chelsea is a hell of a lot more entertaining, so yeah, this movie warms up the bad guys on that aspect at least. Even though this is a cool idea and it's paced pretty well, I feel like it doesn't go far as it could've. Like, we don't really see much of Ruby's friends, and when we do, we brush past the part of the story where Chelsea is ruining all Ruby's relationships in order for the two to grow closer. I feel like having a scene dedicated to that instead of brushing it past a montage would have worked so much better. Hell, what if she revealed herself as the villain and she gaslit Ruby into staying quiet? Who would believe the unpopular girl compared to Miss Fabulous here? You have all this potential and you don't use it. It's a shame since the argument that Ruby and her mom had was genuinely good and it made sense to happen within this point of the story. And that's unfortunately not my only gripe with the plot and characters. I really do not like what they did with Grandmama. I think the issue here is trying to have flawed people who have spotty connections, but we need to see repercussions for why those flaws are bad. The movie insists that Grandmama has the flaw of being too brash and jumping to a fight, but technically, everything kinda worked out for her. She got a new inheritor for the throne like she wanted, she trained Ruby like she wanted, and look, nobody got hurt! I think the simple repercussion of, uh-oh, people are gonna get hurt because of my actions, it would have been good. If anything, the mom is proven more wrong in sheltering Ruby even though she had a valid reason to. Grandmama doesn't even apologize or acknowledge that she could have been a bit harsh on Ruby's mom. They just went,
we're cool.
Like, the whole family aspect that isn't about Ruby is just kinda dull because we don't focus nearly enough time for it. I think the vagueness in the beginning works well for the viewer to actually try and guess what happened, but the thing is, you gotta pay that off with a full explanation at some point. We never get a full reason for Ruby's mom to leave the ocean and not kill the mermaids other than the vague idea that she had Ruby. They don't even frame it like a moral thing. Just that Ruby was born. I think Mitchells vs. the Machines works so well because we have a visual to show the emotions Katie's dad felt as he gave up his dream for her. Something alluded to that gets elaborated on within the plot that serves as a catalyst. Something this movie wants to do, but the info is too murky on the details to really grasp fully. If that makes any sense? Also, how did Ruby know that the trident was breakable? That was never brought up as an option to my knowledge. I just thought it was like the ring. You can't break it because magic. Are you telling me that nobody thought of, let's all blast the trident together before in the war? It just feels like this movie needed another proofread to catch these small things that do muddle the story and better structure it. Another example, there's a small side plot of Ruby's family having to trick the fisherman so he doesn't kill Ruby, and there's only like 2 scenes of this plot. Imagine what kind of shenanigans you could have pulled for slapstick or tricking the captain. Maybe you could tie it back to having the family ask why the fisherman wants to catch a sea monster so bad and explore that. Ooh, maybe you could also have him appear in the final fight to distract Chelsea with his monster hunting tools. Look, a monster! You have tools that almost killed the main character. But nah, let's just use him for one quick joke before he turns on a dime. Which is funny, I'll admit, it is a good joke, I like that. And just drive a boat so a kid could play dodgeball. So yeah, the moment where I feel the plot was lacking does hurt the movie. But again, I really like Ruby and how she tries to understand herself and gets manipulated by Chelsea by having this sad backstory. The characters are still fun even with all these irks. I never had a bad time, it's just, yeah, this is a okay movie. I'm not gonna say that it's a bad movie. And hey, maybe the plot details and contrivances won't distract you as much as it did for me. because this is still an okay movie with a ton of heart. I'm of the opinion that a studio shouldn't rely on one voice and try to make a masterpiece every time, or as I like to call it, the Ghibli conundrum. As comfort movies, or less ambitious movies overall, should still be respected. And that's this movie. I feel like this is gonna be one of those films that kids are gonna grow up and just start an unfathomable fan base over it. Not the biggest, mind you, but man, they're gonna love the crap out of this movie. It's gonna be like a cult favorite, I think. Like Surf's Up or Flushed Away. So yeah, I say give it a watch. It's better than watching The Flash.